The medical station Harmony Prime floated silently in the dark void of space. Its white metal walls gleamed under the light of 3 distant suns. The station spun slowly around its central axis, creating artificial gravity for the thousands of beings who lived and worked inside. Dr. Kyung-soo walked through the main corridor of his clinic, checking on patients in the various treatment rooms. His blue skin had a slight shimmer that marked him as one of the Veltari people. 4 arms moved gracefully as he made notes on his digital tablet. His large black eyes showed the wisdom that came from 50 years of treating alien diseases. The clinic was busy as always. In one room, a crystalline being from the Theta sector lay on a specially designed bed while machines slowly repaired cracks in its mineral body. In another room, a furry creature with 6 legs whimpered softly as nurses treated burns from a plasma accident. The smell of various medicines and cleaning chemicals filled the air. Nurse Yoonji finished checking the vital signs of a patient with green scales and multiple hearts. She was young for a human, only 25 years old, with short black hair and kind brown eyes. This was her first assignment working with alien species, but she had learned quickly. The other nurses respected her gentle touch and quick thinking. "Dr. Kyung-soo," called out Nurse Minho from the reception desk. "We have 3 new patients coming in from the cargo freighter that just docked." The doctor nodded and continued his rounds. Harmony Prime served as a neutral medical station in the Outer Rim territories. Ships from all over the galaxy came here for treatment. The station's location made it perfect for emergency medical care, far from the political tensions of the inner worlds. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. The voice of Station Commander Yuna came over the communication system. "Attention all personnel, a Gorlak vessel has just dropped out of hyperspace. All civilians are to remain in their quarters until further notice. Security teams to level 7. Dr. Kyung-soo stopped walking. His 4 hands gripped his tablet tighter. The other medical staff looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Gorlaks. They were the nightmare that parents used to scare children into good behavior. "What do the Gorlaks want here?" whispered Nurse Minho. His voice shook slightly. Through the large viewing windows of the clinic, they could see the massive ship floating near the station. It was black as space itself, covered in sharp metal spikes and weapon ports. The ship looked like it could tear the medical station apart without trying hard. "Maybe they are just passing through," said another nurse quietly. But everyone knew that Gorlaks never just passed through anywhere. When they came to a place, it usually meant death and destruction. Dr. Kyung-soo remembered his home planet, the green fields where he played as a child, the crystal cities that reached toward the sky. The Gorlaks had come there too, 30 years ago. When they left, nothing remained but ash and broken stone. "Everyone stay calm," he said to his staff. "Continue with your duties. We are a medical facility. We help those who need help." But even as he spoke, Dr. Kyung-soo felt the old anger burning in his chest. The Gorlaks were killers. They destroyed worlds for sport. They cared nothing for the lives of others. 20 minutes later, the docking bay doors opened with a loud hiss. Heavy footsteps echoed through the station corridors. The sound was not like normal footsteps. It was the clicking and scraping of claws against metal floors. The main doors to the medical clinic slid open. Several patients screamed. Others fainted from pure terror. The creature that entered was like something from the worst nightmare. Thok stood 9 feet tall. His body was covered in thick plates of natural armor that looked like black metal. Sharp, spikes grew from his shoulders and back. His head was long and narrow with rows of teeth that dripped with acid. 6 eyes glowed red in the dim light of the clinic. His forearms ended in claws that could cut through steel, but something was wrong with the terrifying creature. As he walked forward, pieces of his armor fell to the floor. Strange crystal growths covered parts of his body, making crackling sounds as they spread. His breathing was heavy and painful. Green blood leaked from cracks between his armor plates. The other patients in the waiting area ran screaming toward the exits. Chairs and tables fell over as beings pushed past each other to get away. Some patients were too sick to run, so they hid behind furniture or curled up in corners. Thok moved slowly toward the reception desk. Each step seemed to cause him pain. More pieces of his armor broke away and fell to the floor with metallic clangs. "I need help," he said in a deep voice that sounded like grinding stone. The words came out in perfect standard galactic, though his accent was thick. "I am dying." Nurse Minho had turned completely white. His hands shook as he reached for the emergency alarm button. But Dr. Kyung-soo held up one of his 4 hands to stop him. The doctor walked closer to the Gorlak, though every instinct told him to run. His medical training was stronger than his fear. He could see the symptoms clearly now. The crystal growths, the deteriorating bioarmor, the green blood. He had read about this condition in medical journals. "Quantum flux syndrome," Dr. Kyung-soo said quietly to himself. Thok heard him and nodded slowly. "The crystals grow inside me. They turn my body to stone. I have maybe 10 days before they reach my heart." The doctor studied the creature that had once been part of the force that destroyed his world. Part of him wanted to watch the Gorlak suffer. Part of him wanted to see justice finally come to these killers. But another part of him, the part trained to heal, wanted to help any being in pain. "How did you know to come here?" Dr. Kyung-soo asked. "Your reputation," Thok replied. "They say you can cure anything, that you have saved beings that other doctors gave up on." The doctor walked in a circle around the Gorlak, examining the crystal, growths from different angles. The condition was rare but treatable. It would require weeks of intensive care and experimental procedures. It would use resources that could help dozens of other patients, and it would mean helping one of the creatures that had murdered his family. "Please," Thok said, and for a moment his terrible voice sounded almost small. "I know what my people have done. I know you hate us, but there is something coming. Something worse than the Gorlaks. If I die, billions of innocent beings will die with me." Dr. Kyung-soo stopped walking. His large black eyes stared at the dying predator. Around them, the clinic was completely silent, except for the sound of Thok's labored breathing and the soft crackling of growing crystals. The doctor's decision would change everything. Dr. Kyung-soo stared at the dying Gorlak for a long moment. The crystal growths continued to spread across Thok's body with soft crackling sounds. Each breath the creature took seemed more difficult than the last. Green blood dripped steadily onto the clinic floor. The doctor had seen quantum flux syndrome only twice before in his 50 years of practice. Both times, he had managed to save the patient using a combination of quantum stabilizers and cellular regeneration therapy. The treatment was complex and expensive, but it worked. He knew exactly how to cure this monster. "I have examined your condition," Dr. Kyung-soo said in a cold voice. "You have quantum flux syndrome. The crystalline structures are converting your organic tissue at the molecular level." Thok's 6 red eyes focused on the doctor with desperate hope. "Can you cure it?" "Yes," the doctor replied simply. Relief flooded across the Gorlak's terrifying features. His massive shoulders relaxed slightly. "Thank you, doctor. I knew you would help. Your reputation for saving lives is known across the galaxy." Dr. Kyung-soo walked to his desk and activated his computer terminal. Patient files appeared on the screen. He scrolled through the list slowly, making sure Thok could see what he was doing. "I am checking our current patient load," the doctor explained. "We have 47 beings currently receiving treatment. 3 are in critical condition. Our resources are limited." "I can pay," Thok said quickly. "The Gorlak Empire has great wealth. Rare metals, energy crystals, whatever you need." The doctor continued scrolling through files. "Payment is not the issue. The treatment requires specialized equipment. It takes weeks of intensive care. It demands the full attention of my best medical team." "Then you will do it?" Hope filled Thok's voice. "Doctor." Kyung-soo turned away from his computer to face the Gorlak directly. His forearms crossed over his chest. His large black eyes showed no emotion at all. "No," he said quietly. "I will not treat you." Thok's massive body went completely still. Even his labored breathing seemed to stop for a moment. "What did you say?" "I said no. This clinic has a strict policy. We do not provide medical care to members of the Gorlak Empire. But you just said you could cure me. Thok's voice rose to a growl. I can cure you, Dr. Kyung-soo agreed. But I will not cure you. There is a difference. The Gorlak took a step forward. His claws scraped against the metal floor. Several nurses moved backward in fear. But the doctor did not move at all. You are a doctor, Thok said through gritted teeth. Your job is to heal. My job is to heal those who deserve healing, Dr. Kyung-soo replied. The Gorlak Empire has destroyed hundreds of worlds. Billions of innocent beings have died because of your people. Children, families, entire civilizations wiped out for your expansion. That was war, Thok protested. That was genocide, the doctor snapped back. His calm voice finally showed anger. I have treated refugees from your wars, beings with burns that covered their entire bodies. Children who watched their parents torn apart by Gorlak claws. Survivors who screamed in their sleep because they could not forget the sound of your ships dropping death from the sky. Thok's breathing became heavier. Pain and desperation mixed in his red eyes. Doctor, please. I understand your hatred, but you do not understand the situation. I understand perfectly, Dr. Kyung-soo said. A killer is dying. The galaxy will be safer without him. You are wrong, Thok said, his voice becoming urgent. There is something coming. Something worse than anything the Gorlaks have ever done. The Void Swarm approaches this sector. Several of the medical staff gasped. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about the Void Swarm. Machines that consumed entire star systems. Technology that turned planets into metal and circuits. The Void Swarm is a myth, Dr. Kyung-soo said dismissively. It is real, Thok insisted. They destroyed the Gorlak homeworld 300 years ago. They consumed 7 of our colony worlds. My people have been running from them ever since. So you decided to destroy other worlds instead? We needed space to live. We needed resources to build fleets. Everything we have done has been to prepare for their return. Dr. Kyung-soo laughed, bitterly. How convenient. The great Gorlak Empire was just trying to save the galaxy. Mock me if you want, Thok said. But in 3 weeks the Void Swarm will reach this sector. I command the only fleet large enough to stop them. Without me, the different Gorlak clans will fight each other instead of the real enemy. Then perhaps that is exactly what should happen, the doctor replied. Let the Gorlaks destroy themselves fighting. It would save the rest of us the trouble. Thok staggered slightly as another wave of pain hit him. More crystals formed along his arms, making sharp clicking sounds. His armor continued to fall apart piece by piece. 17 systems, he said desperately. 43 inhabited worlds. Over 6 billion sentient beings live in this sector. They will all die if my fleet cannot coordinate a defense. The other species can defend themselves. No, they cannot. Thok shook his head. I have seen what the Void Swarm does. They do not just kill. They turn everything into part of their collective. Every person becomes a machine. Every world becomes a factory. Death would be a mercy compared to what they do. Dr. Kyung-soo walked to the large viewing window that looked out into space. The Gorlak warship hung there like a black dagger against the stars. How many worlds had burned because of ships like that one? My home planet was called Veltara Prime, he said without turning around. Crystal cities that sang in the wind. Floating gardens that bloomed in 7 colors. My wife and 3 children lived there. Thok said nothing. Your people came 30 years ago. They said Veltara Prime had resources they needed. Rare crystals that grew in our mountain ranges. We tried to negotiate. We offered to trade fairly. The doctor's 4 hands pressed against the window. The Gorlak said negotiation was for the weak. They bombarded our cities from orbit. Then they sent ground troops to hunt down the survivors. Doctor, I am sorry for your loss, but my wife tried to hide our children in the crystal caves. Your soldiers found them anyway. Do you know how long it takes for acid burns to kill a child, Thok? The Gorlak looked down at the floor. Green blood continued to drip from his wounds. I became a doctor to save lives, Dr. Kyung-soo continued. But I will not save the life of a creature whose people murdered my family. Find another doctor. Find another clinic. There is no time. Thok said weakly. By the time I reach another medical facility, the crystals will have reached my vital organs. Then you will die, the doctor said simply. Just like my children died. Just like billions of others have died because of the Gorlak Empire. Thok swayed on his feet. The crystal growths had spread to cover nearly half his body. His breathing was becoming more labored with each passing minute. Please, he whispered. I know I do not deserve mercy, but those billions of innocent beings do. Dr. Kyung-soo turned back to face him. No, he said firmly. My answer is final. Security will escort you back to your ship. The doctor pressed a button on his desk. 2 station security guards appeared at the clinic entrance within moments. They wore heavy armor and carried plasma rifles. The patient is leaving, Dr. Kyung-soo told them. Thok looked around the clinic one last time. His red eyes met those of every medical staff member present. Some looked afraid. Others looked satisfied to see a Gorlak suffering. But in the back of the room, a young human nurse named Yoon-ji watched with something different in her brown eyes. Something that looked almost like sympathy. Thok began to walk toward the exit, leaving a trail of green blood and broken armor pieces behind him. His massive form moved more slowly now, pain obvious in every step. As he reached the clinic doors, his legs finally gave out. The great Gorlak warrior collapsed to his knees, then fell forward onto the cold metal floor. The security guard stepped back, unsure what to do with a dying predator. Thok lay motionless on the clinic floor. His massive body had fallen forward when his legs gave out, and now green blood pooled beneath him. The crystal growths continued to spread across his armor with soft, crackling sounds. His breathing was shallow and quick. The 2 security guards stood over him with their plasma rifles ready. One of them spoke into his communication device. This is Security Team 7. We have a collapsed Gorlak in Medical Bay 3. Requesting instructions. Dr. Kyung-soo watched from behind his desk. His 4 arms were crossed, and his expression showed no emotion. Around the clinic, other staff members whispered to each other. Some looked relieved that the monster was finally dying. Others seemed nervous about what might happen next. Should we move him back to his ship? Asked one of the security guards. Leave him where he is, Dr. Kyung-soo replied coldly. He is not my patient. He is not my responsibility. Nurse Minho stepped forward carefully. Doctor, what if he dies? Here? The other Gorlaks on his ship might blame us. They might attack the station. The Gorlaks are warriors, the doctor said. They understand that the weak die and the strong survive. If their commander was too weak to live, they will find a new leader. Thok's 6 red eyes opened slightly. He tried to push himself up with his forearms, but the crystal growths had made his joints stiff and painful. After a few seconds of struggling, he collapsed again. Help me, he whispered. The words were so quiet that only those closest to him could hear. Most of the medical staff looked away. They had seen enough death in their careers to know when someone was beyond saving. But Nurse Yoon-ji moved closer to the fallen Gorlak. She was young and small compared to the massive alien warrior. Her brown eyes studied his condition with the careful attention of a trained medical professional. She had only been working with alien species for 6 months, but her training in human military medicine had taught her to treat injuries without asking questions about who was injured. His breathing is getting worse, she said to Dr. Kyung-soo. The crystal growths are affecting his respiratory system. That is what happens with quantum flux syndrome, the doctor replied without looking up from his computer. The crystalline structures eventually block all major organ functions. Yoon-ji knelt down beside Thok's head. His red eyes focused on her with difficulty. She had never been this close to a Gorlak before. Everything about him was designed to kill. His teeth could bite through metal. His claws could tear apart starship hulls. His acid saliva could dissolve most known materials. But right now, he just looked like a patient who needed help. Can you hear me? She asked gently. Thok nodded weakly. Yes, he whispered. I am going to check your vital signs, Yoon-ji told him. She reached for her medical scanner, but Dr. Kyung-soo's voice stopped her. Nurse Yunji, step away from that creature immediately. She looked back at the doctor. He needs medical attention. He needs nothing from us, Dr. Kyung-soo said firmly. I have made my decision. We will not treat him. But doctor, he is dying right here in our clinic. Then he can die somewhere else. The doctor's voice was getting angrier. Security, remove this creature from my medical facility. The security? Guards moved forward, but they looked uncertain. Moving a 9-foot-tall alien warrior was not easy even when he was healthy. In his current condition, they were not sure how to handle him safely. Yunji stood up and faced Dr. Kyung-soo directly. I cannot stand by and watch someone die when I have the ability to help. You do not have the ability to help, the doctor snapped. You are a nurse, not a physician. You do not make treatment decisions in my clinic. I took an oath, Yunji replied. The universal medical oath that every medical professional swears. Do you remember it, doctor? Dr. Kyung-soo's large, black eyes narrowed. Of course he remembered the oath. Every being who worked in medicine had to swear it before they could practice. I swear to provide aid to any sentient being in need of medical care, Yunji recited from memory. Regardless of species, regardless of origin, regardless of political affiliation, I will let no personal feelings prevent me from doing my duty to preserve life. Do not quote the medical oath to me, Dr. Kyung-soo said coldly. I have been a doctor longer than you have been. Alive. Then act like one, Yunji shot back. The other medical staff gasped. No one had ever spoken to Dr. Kyung-soo like that before. He was respected throughout the galaxy for his medical skills and knowledge. How dare you? The doctor said in a dangerous voice. How dare I what? Yunji asked. How dare I try to save a life? How dare I follow my medical training? How dare I remember what we are supposed to be? She knelt back down beside Thok and began running her medical scanner over his body. The device beeped and chirped as it analyzed his condition. Nurse Yunji, you are relieved of duty, Dr. Kyung-soo announced. Security, escort her from the premises. But Yunji continued working. Her scanner showed that Thok's vital signs were getting weaker. The crystal growths had spread to his chest area and were beginning to affect his circulatory system. His blood pressure is dropping, she reported to no one in particular. Heart rate is irregular. Oxygen levels are falling. I said you are relieved of duty, Dr. Kyung-soo repeated. And I said I took an oath, Yunji replied without looking up. She reached into her medical kit and pulled out an emergency stabilization injector. I am going to give him something for the pain and to slow the crystal growth. You will do no such thing, the doctor said. He walked toward her quickly, his 4 arms moving in agitation. But Yunji was faster. She pressed the injector against Thok's neck and activated it. The medication hissed as it entered his bloodstream. Within seconds, his breathing became easier, and some of the pain left his red eyes. Thank you, Thok whispered to her. Dr. Kyung-soo grabbed Yunji by the shoulder and pulled her away from the Gorlak. You have just violated direct orders from your superior officer. You have administered medication without authorization. You have treated a patient against explicit instructions. Yes, I have, Yunji agreed calmly. You are terminated. Your medical license will be revoked. You will never work in medicine again. Maybe not, she said, but at least I will be able to sleep at night. The other medical staff watched in shock. Nurse Minho looked like he wanted to help her, but was too afraid. The alien nurses whispered among themselves in their native languages. This is insane, said one of the Veltari nurses. She is throwing away her career for a Gorlak. He is a patient, Yunji corrected. That is all that matters. Dr. Kyung-soo activated his communication device. Station Commander Yuna, this is Dr. Kyung-soo. I need security to arrest one of my nurses for violating medical protocols. Commander Yuna's voice came back over the speaker. Doctor, I am monitoring the situation through security cameras. Are you certain you want to arrest someone for providing medical care? She is providing unauthorized medical care to a hostile alien. A dying hostile alien, the commander corrected. Doctor, The Universal Medical Oath is part of station regulations. Every medical facility in neutral space is required to follow it. Dr. Kyung-soo's 4 hands clenched into fists. Commander, that creature's people destroyed my homeworld. I understand your feelings, Doctor, but personal vengeance cannot override medical ethics. If you refuse to treat him, the nurse has the right to provide emergency care. Yoonji continued, working on Thok while the adults argued above her. She had managed to stabilize his condition temporarily, but the crystal growths were still spreading. He needed proper treatment soon, or the medication would stop working. Doctor, she said quietly, I cannot cure him with basic emergency care. He needs the full treatment that only you can provide. Dr. Kyung-soo looked down at her. His expression was filled with anger and frustration. I will not help him. Then teach me how to do it myself, Yoonji said. I am willing to learn. Impossible. The treatment requires years of specialized knowledge. Then, let me try anyway, she insisted. What is the worst that could happen? He dies? He's going to die anyway if no one helps him. Thok's eyes had been following the conversation. Now he spoke in his grinding stone voice. Little human nurse, why do you risk so much for me? Yoonji looked at his terrifying face. Because you are sick and I am a healer. That is enough. Even though my people have done terrible things? Your people did terrible things, she agreed. But you are not your people. You are just one being who needs help. Thok closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something had changed in their red depths. If I survive this, I will remember what you have done. Just focus on staying alive, Yoonji told him. She looked back at Dr. Kyung-soo. Doctor, I am going to treat him with or without your permission. I would rather do it with your help and guidance, but I will do it alone if necessary. The doctor stared at her for a long moment. Around them, the clinic was completely silent except for the sound of Thok's breathing and the soft crackling of growing crystals. Finally, Dr. Kyung-soo sighed. You are the most stubborn human I have ever met. Thank you, Yoonji said. Is that a yes? Dr. Kyung-soo stood silently for several long moments. His forearms remained crossed as he stared down at the young human nurse who had defied him. Around the clinic, the other medical staff waited to see what would happen next. Finally, the doctor let out a deep sigh. Against my better judgment and against every instinct I have, I will allow you to treat him. Yoonji's face lit up with relief. Thank you, doctor. Do not thank me yet, Dr. Kyung-soo said coldly. I said I will allow you to treat him. I did not say I would help you. This is your patient now, Nurse Yoonji. His life is in your hands alone. But doctor, I need your guidance. I have never treated quantum flux syndrome before. Then you had better learn quickly, the doctor replied. He walked back to his desk and sat down. The medical database has files on the condition. Read them, study them, figure it out yourself. Yoonji felt a chill of fear run through her. She had spoken bravely about treating Thok, but the truth was that she had no idea how to cure such a complex condition. Her training was in human medicine and basic alien first aid, but she had made a commitment. She could not back down now. Help me get him to treatment room 7, she told the security guards. It has the most advanced equipment. The guards looked, uncertain. Is it safe to move him? Safer than leaving him on the floor, Yoonji replied. It took 4 people to carefully lift Thok onto a medical transport bed. His massive body was much heavier than it looked. Even unconscious, his presence was intimidating. His claws hung over the sides of the bed, and his acid saliva left small burn marks on the sheets. Once they had him settled in the treatment room, Yoonji connected monitoring equipment to track his vital signs. The machines beeped and hummed as they analyzed his alien physiology. She spent the next 3 hours reading everything she could find about quantum flux syndrome. The condition was rare and poorly understood. It seemed to affect different species in different ways. The crystal growths converted organic tissue into an unknown mineral compound at the molecular level. Most cases ended in death within 10 to 14 days. The treatment involved using quantum stabilizers to halt the crystallization process, followed by cellular regeneration therapy to repair the damaged tissue. But the exact procedures were complex and required precise timing. "This is impossible," Yunji muttered to herself as she read the medical files. "I need at least 5 years of quantum medicine training to understand this." But as she continued reading, she began to notice something interesting. Human cellular regeneration worked differently from other species. Humans could heal from injuries that would be fatal to most aliens. Their bodies adapted and overcame damage in ways that seemed impossible. Maybe that was the key. Yunji began, working on a modified treatment plan. Instead of following the standard procedures exactly, she would combine them with human medical techniques. It was risky and untested, but it might work. She started the quantum stabilizers first. The machines hummed as they sent energy waves through Thok's body. The crystal growth stopped spreading, but they did not shrink. That was normal, according to the medical files. Next came the cellular regeneration therapy. This was where her human training might make a difference. Instead of using the standard alien approach, she programmed the machines to work more like human stem cell therapy. The treatment took 12 hours. Yunji did not leave the room once. She monitored every reading, adjusted every setting, and watched for any sign of improvement or complications. Around hour 8, Thok woke up. His red eyes opened slowly and focused on her. "Human nurse," he said in his grinding voice. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Different," he replied. "The pain is less. The crystals have stopped growing." "Good. That means the treatment is working." Yunji checked his vital signs on the monitors. His blood pressure was stable, and his breathing was much easier. "Why are you doing this?" Thok asked. "Your own species. Dr. Kyungsu told me about his family. My people have done the same to humans." Yunji adjusted one of the machines before answering. "My grandfather was a soldier in the human Centauri war. He told me stories about the terrible things that happened on both sides. Good people doing evil things because they were afraid or angry. And what did you learn from those stories? That someone has to choose to break the cycle," she said simply. "Someone has to decide that healing is more important than hatred." Thok was quiet for a while. Then he said, "Tell me about the threat you mentioned, this void swarm." As the treatment continued, Thok began to share information about the approaching danger. The void swarm was not just a fleet of ships. It was a collective intelligence that consumed entire civilizations and turned them into extensions of itself. They came to the Gorlak homeworld 300 years ago, Thok explained. Within days, they had converted half our population into machine beings. Our cities became factories. Our people became parts of their collective mind. How did you escape? My ancestors fought a desperate battle. They destroyed the planet rather than let it be completely consumed. The survivors fled into space and began searching for a new home. Yunji frowned. But you have been conquering other worlds. You could have found empty planets to colonize. Empty planets do not have the resources we need to build warships, Thok said. We have been preparing for the swarm's return for 3 centuries. Every ship in our fleet, every weapon we carry, every world we control exists for one purpose, to fight them when they come back. So you destroyed other civilizations to save yourselves? Thok's expression showed something that might have been shame. Yes. We told ourselves it was necessary. We said it was the only way to survive. But in our hearts, we knew we had become monsters. During the long hours of treatment, their conversations continued. Yunji learned that Thok was not just a warrior, but also a leader who cared deeply about his people. He had risen through the ranks by being smart and honorable, not just brutal. My clan follows me because I keep them alive, he said. But the other clans follow me because I win battles. If I die, they will fight each other for control of the fleet. How much time do we have before the void swarm arrives? 18 days, Thok replied. Maybe less. My scouts detected their advanced ships 3 weeks ago. The treatment was working better than Yunji had hoped. The crystal growths were not just stopping, They were actually beginning to shrink. Her combination of human and alien medical techniques was proving more effective than the standard procedures. But the process was far from over. Even with the improvements, it would take at least a week to complete the cure. On the third day, Dr. Kyung-soo finally entered the treatment room. He had been watching from outside, but this was the first time he had come close to Thok since refusing to treat him. "Your methods are unorthodox," the doctor said to Eun-ji. "They seem to be working," she replied. Dr. Kyung-soo studied the monitoring equipment. His large black eyes showed surprise at the readings. "The crystalline conversion rate has not just stopped, it is actually reversing. How did you achieve this?" "I combined quantum stabilization with human stem cell therapy techniques," Eun-ji explained. "Human cells are more adaptable than most alien species. They can fight off the crystallization more effectively." The doctor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That is actually quite brilliant. I would not have thought of that approach." "Will you help me finish the treatment?" Eun-ji asked hopefully. Dr. Kyung-soo looked at Thok, who was watching the conversation silently. The Gorlak's appearance had already improved dramatically. Most of the crystal growths were gone, and his natural armor was beginning to regenerate. "No," the doctor said finally. "This is still your patient, but I will observe and provide guidance if you ask for it." It was not the full partnership Eun-ji had hoped for, but it was progress. Over the next 4 days, she continued the treatment with Dr. Kyung-soo, offering occasional advice. The other medical staff gradually became less afraid of Thok as they saw him recovering. Some even began to help with his care. Nurse Minho brought him special meals designed for his alien metabolism. The Veltari nurses monitored his vital signs during their shifts. Even the security guards became more relaxed around him. But the most important change was in Thok himself. As his body healed, something seemed to heal in his spirit as well. He began asking questions about the other patients in the clinic. He showed interest in the medical techniques being used to help them. "You save lives without asking for payment or loyalty," he said to Eun-ji. "You help beings you have never met and will never see again. This is not how warriors think." "Maybe that is why healers and warriors need each other," Eun-ji replied. "We see the world differently." On the 7th day, the treatment was complete. The last of the crystal growths disappeared and Thok's armor had fully regenerated. If anything, he looked stronger and healthier than when he had first arrived. "How do you feel?" Eun-ji asked as she removed the final monitoring equipment. Thok stood up slowly and stretched his massive frame. His forearms moved smoothly and his breathing was deep and clear. "I feel like I have been given a second chance at life." "What will you do with it?" Thok was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I will try to be worthy of the mercy you have shown me." He looked around the treatment room where he had spent the last week. "I have learned much here, about healing, about compassion, about what it means to put others before yourself." "The Void Swarm," Eun-ji reminded him. "You said they would arrive in 18 days. It has been a week." 11 days, Thok nodded. "I must return to my fleet immediately. The clans need to be united before the battle begins." As he prepared to leave, Thok turned to Eun-ji one final time. "Little human nurse, you have saved more than just my life. You have shown me a different way to be strong. Just remember that when you make decisions about other species," Eun-ji said. "I will remember," Thok promised. "I will remember everything." Thok stood at the entrance to the medical clinic, fully healed and ready to return to his ship. His massive frame filled the doorway, but somehow he no longer seemed as terrifying as when he had first arrived. The crystal growths were completely gone, and his natural armor gleamed with renewed strength. Dr. Kyung-soo watched from behind his desk as the Gorlak prepared to leave. Something had changed in the doctor's expression over the past week. The cold hatred was still there, but it was mixed with something else, perhaps confusion, or even a small amount of respect. "Before you go," Dr. Kyung-soo said suddenly, "I want to understand something. You claim your people have been preparing to fight this void swarm for 3 centuries. Why should I believe you? Thok turned to face the doctor. Because I am about to prove it, he replied. In 11 days you will see ships in the sky. You will know whether I spoke the truth or lies. And if you are lying, if this is just an excuse for Gorlak aggression, then my life is forfeit, Thok said simply. I give you my word as a warrior. If no void swarm appears within 2 weeks, I will return here and submit to whatever justice you choose. Yunji stepped forward. That will not be necessary. I believe you. Both aliens looked at her in surprise. She was just a young human nurse. Her opinion should not matter in such important affairs, but somehow her words carried weight. Why? Dr. Kyung-soo asked. Because people do not change the way he has changed unless they are facing something truly terrible, Yunji explained. I have watched him for a week. I have seen him learn to care about others. That does not happen because of lies. Thok nodded gratefully to her. The human understands what others cannot see. Sometimes the greatest changes come from the greatest threats. He walked to where Yunji stood and knelt down on one knee, bringing his massive head closer to her level. Little human nurse, you have given me a gift beyond measure. Not just my life, but a new way to see the universe. What will you do now? She asked. I will return to my fleet and prepare for war, Thok said. But I will also send messages to the other species in this sector. The Gorlaks cannot fight the void swarm alone. We need allies. Will the other species trust you? No, Thok admitted. They have every reason to hate and fear us, but perhaps some will listen when they see the proof of what is coming. He stood up and looked around the clinic one final time. I make you this promise, Nurse Yunji. If I survive the coming battle, I will work to change how the Gorlak Empire treats conquered peoples. No more unnecessary killing. No more destroying worlds for sport. That is a good start, Yunji said. It is more than a start, Thok replied. It is a complete change in how my people will exist in this galaxy. He turned to Dr. Kyung-soo. Doctor, I know you will never forgive what my people did to your family. I do not ask for forgiveness, but I ask that you judge my future actions separately from my past ones. Dr. Kyung-soo was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, I will watch and wait. Time will tell whether your words have meaning. Thok nodded and walked toward the exit. The security guard stepped aside to let him pass. As he reached the door, he paused and looked back at Yunji. If you ever need anything, little human nurse, send word to the Gorlak fleet. You will always have a friend among the stars. Then he was gone, his heavy footsteps echoing through the station corridors as he made his way back to his ship. Dr. Kyung-soo and Yunji watched through the viewing window as the massive Gorlak warship prepared to depart. The black vessel seemed less threatening now somehow, or perhaps they simply saw it differently. Do you think he was telling the truth? Dr. Kyung-soo asked. Yes, Yunji replied without hesitation. He was telling the truth about everything. The Gorlak ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only empty stars behind. For the next 11 days, life at Harmony Prime continued as normal. Patients came and went. The medical staff treated injuries and illnesses from across the galaxy. But everyone was watching the news feeds, waiting to see if Thok's warnings would prove true. Dr. Kyung-soo found himself thinking about the week of treatment more than he wanted to admit. He had watched Yunji work with skill and dedication that impressed him. Her innovative combination of human and alien medicine had achieved results that traditional methods might not have managed. More importantly, he had seen her show compassion to someone who probably did not deserve it, and that compassion had seemed to change the recipient in fundamental ways. On the 10th day, the first reports began coming in. Long-range sensors were detecting unknown ships at the edge of the system. The vessels were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They moved in perfect formations and showed no response to communication attempts. On the 11th day, the void swarm arrived. The first wave consisted of hundreds of sleek black ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved through space like a school of predatory fish, swift and deadly. Behind them came larger vessels that looked more like mobile factories than warships. Within hours, the peaceful trading post of Kepler Station went silent. Then the mining colonies in the asteroid belt stopped responding to communications. Whatever the void swarm touched simply disappeared from all contact, but the Gorlak fleet was ready. Thok had been true to his word. He had united the feuding clans under a single command structure. More surprisingly, he had also convinced several other species to join the defense. Centauri destroyers fought alongside Gorlak cruisers. Veltari medical ships provided support to Altarian fighters. The battle lasted for 6 days. Reports came in constantly through emergency communications. The Void Swarm was everything Thok had said it would be. Their ships converted everything. They touched into more of themselves. Destroyed vessels became raw materials for new enemy units. But the Allied fleet held the line. The Gorlaks fought with desperate courage, knowing that this was what their entire civilization had been preparing for. The other species fought just as hard, finally understanding the true nature of the threat they faced. On the 6th day, the tide turned. Thok led a desperate assault on the Void Swarm's command ship, a massive vessel that coordinated the entire collective. His own ship was badly damaged in the attack, but the mission succeeded. With their central intelligence disrupted, the remaining swarm ships retreated into deep space. The immediate threat was over, but the cost had been enormous. Thousands of ships were destroyed. Entire fleets were reduced to scrap metal. Many brave beings from multiple species had given their lives to save the sector. 3 weeks after the battle ended, a small transport ship docked at Harmony Prime. Yoonji was treating a patient with radiation burns when Nurse Minho came to find her. "You have a visitor," he said with a strange expression on his face. Yoonji finished bandaging her patient and went to the main reception area. There, looking much more tired than when she had last seen him, stood Thok. His armor showed signs of recent battle damage, and one of his 4 arms was in a medical sling. "You came back," she said with surprise. "I made a promise," Thok replied. "I always keep my promises." Dr. Kyung-soo emerged from his office when he heard the commotion. He looked at the wounded Gorlak with a completely different expression than before. The hatred was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. "I heard about the battle," the doctor said. "The reports say you saved 17 star systems." "We saved them together," Thok corrected. "Gorlaks, humans, Veltari, Centauri, and a dozen other species. No one people could have done it alone." "What happens now?" Hyunji asked. Thok reached into a pouch on his armor and pulled out a small device. "Now we rebuild. But we rebuild differently." He activated the device, and a holographic image appeared in the air. The image showed the plans for a new type of space station. It was massive, bigger even than the largest cities. But instead of being designed for war, it was clearly meant for peaceful purposes. There were medical facilities, research laboratories, and living areas for multiple species. "This is Hope Station," Thok explained. "It will be built at the edge of this sector where the battle was fought, a place where all species can work together to prepare for the next threat, because the Void Swarm will return eventually." "Who will run such a place?" Dr. Kyung-soo asked. "A council of representatives from every species that fought in the battle," Thok said. "But we need someone to oversee the medical facilities. Someone who understands that healing is more important than politics." He looked directly at Yoonji. "We need a chief medical officer who has proven that compassion can change the galaxy." Yoonji stared at him in shock. "You want me to run a medical facility for the entire sector?" "I want you to do what you do best," Thok said. "Heal those who need healing. Teach others to see past their prejudices. Show the galaxy that there is a better way to live." Dr. Kyung-soo stepped forward. "If Nurse Yoonji accepts this position, she will need experienced staff to help her. I volunteer to serve as her assistant." Both Yoonji and Thok looked at him in surprise. "Doctor, are you certain?" Yoonji asked. "After everything that has happened?" "I am certain," Dr. Kyung-soo replied. "This past month has taught me something important. Hatred is a disease that spreads unless it is treated. You have shown me how to cure it." 6 months later, Hope Station was completed and operational. The massive structure orbited a small planet where the decisive battle against the Void Swarm had taken place. Ships from dozens of species came there for medical care, scientific, research, and diplomatic meetings. Chief Medical Officer Yoon-ji walked through the main medical bay, checking on patients from 6 different star systems. The facility was equipped with the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy, combining the best knowledge from every known species. Dr. Kyung-soo served as her second-in-command, and their staff included beings from throughout the sector. The Veltari brought their expertise in alien physiology. The Centauri contributed advanced surgical techniques. Even the Gorlaks shared their knowledge of battlefield medicine. In the center of the medical bay stood a memorial wall. It listed the names of all those who had died fighting the Void Swarm. Humans, Gorlaks, Veltari, and dozens of other species were remembered together as heroes who had sacrificed everything to protect their galaxy. But the most important part of Hope Station was not the memorial or the medical facilities. It was the nursery where children from multiple species played together, learning to see each other as friends rather than enemies. Yoon-ji often stood at the viewing window that looked out at the nursery. She watched little Gorlak children playing, gently with human and Veltari youngsters. They had no hatred in their hearts, no prejudice in their minds. To them, differences in appearance or culture were just interesting variations, not reasons for fear or violence. One day, as she was watching the children play, Thok came to stand beside her. He had been appointed as the military commander of Hope Station, responsible for its defense against future threats. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Giving up your quiet life to take on such enormous responsibilities?" Yoon-ji smiled as she watched a young Gorlak carefully help a human child who had fallen down. "No," she said. "This is exactly where I am. Supposed to be." "The galaxy is changing," Thok observed. "Slowly, but it is changing. Species that have been enemies for centuries are learning to work together." "It will take time," Yoon-ji agreed. "Generations, maybe, but change is possible. You proved that." Thok was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I have received word from the Gorlak Council. They are implementing new laws about the treatment of conquered populations. No more unnecessary killing. No more destroying cities for sport. Mercy is now considered a sign of strength, not weakness." "That is wonderful news." "It is just the beginning," Thok said. "But sometimes the beginning is the hardest part." As they stood there watching the future generation play together in peace, both of them knew that they had helped to plant the seeds of something extraordinary. A galaxy where compassion was stronger than hatred, where healing was more valued than destruction, where the courage to show mercy could change the course of history. And it had all started with one young human nurse who refused to let a patient die, no matter who that patient was or what his people had done. The stars continued to shine outside the viewing window, but they seemed brighter now, full of hope for a better tomorrow. In her pocket, Yoon-ji carried a small communication device that Thok had given her. It was connected to a network that now spanned dozens of worlds, linking medical facilities across the galaxy. When emergencies occurred, when species needed help, when conflicts threatened to turn violent, they called upon Hope Station. And Hope Station always answered. The message was simple but powerful. In a galaxy full of darkness, there would always be those who chose to bring light. There would always be healers who put compassion before hatred. There would always be hope. Dr. Kyung-soo joined them at the viewing window, carrying reports from the latest diplomatic missions. Former enemies were now trading partners. Species that had fought wars for centuries were sharing medical knowledge and technological innovations. "The quarterly reports are in," he said. 7 new species have joined the Hope Station Alliance. Medical exchange programs are operating in 23 systems, and there have been no major conflicts in this sector for 4 months. 4 months of peace, Yoon-ji mused. That might be a record. "It is just the beginning," Thok repeated. But what a beginning it is. As the 3 of them stood together, watching the next generation learn to build bridges instead of walls, they knew that they had witnessed something miraculous. One act of kindness had rippled outward across the galaxy, touching millions of lives and changing the course of history itself. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other beings were learning the same lesson that Unji had taught, that the greatest strength was not the power to destroy, but the courage to heal. That true victory came not from conquering enemies, but from turning them into friends. The stars shone on, carrying that message to every corner of the galaxy, promising that no matter how dark things became, there would always be hope.